A very good afternoon to all. We will start the program in 2 minutes. Thank you for your patience. A very good afternoon to you all. I, Mr. Asif Irshad Khan, Assistant Professor, welcome you all for an international multidisciplinary webinar on Non-Violence Day, which is being organized by the Department of English and Postgraduate Center, Anjuman Khairul Islam's Pune College of Arts, Science and Commerce, Pune, India. As per the tradition of our college, I like to quote a pertinent verse from the Holy Quran. Whosoever kills an innocent human being, it shall be as if he has killed all mankind. And whosoever saves the life of one, it shall be as if he has saved the life of all mankind. Chapter number 5, verse number 32. Now, I request Mr. Moinuddin Khan, Vice Principal of Arts Faculty, Pune College, to deliver the welcome address. Over to you, sir.
Wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.
Walaikum salam.
I welcome all the resource persons and the participants who have joined the international multidisciplinary webinar from different parts of the world. This overwhelming response and their participation shows how important non-violence is around the world. I congratulate our principal of college, Dr. Aftab Anwar Sheikh, and the Department of English and Postgraduate Center for organizing this webinar on the occasion of International Non-Violence Day, which is observed by the United Nations on 2nd October, which is the birth anniversary of Mahatma Gandhi, a leader of India's freedom movement and a pioneer of the philosophy of non-violence. The objective of the day is to spread awareness about the idea of non-violence through education. Once again, I welcome all of you. Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you very much, sir, for such a warm welcome and insight over the topic. Now I request Ms. Zinat Merchant, Head, Department of English and Postgraduate Center, to present the theme of the webinar. Over to you, ma'am.
Respected Principal Aftab Anwar Sheikh sir, Vice Principal Moinuddin Khan sir, our dignified guests for today's webinar, Dr. Syed Tehseen Raza and Mr. Ehsan Mudar, my colleagues and dear students. It gives me immense pleasure to welcome you to this international multidisciplinary webinar on the International Day of Nonviolence. Peace and development go hand in glove. No development is possible in the world unless there's an ambience of peace. Starting at the grassroots level, there should be peace within the smallest unit of society, that is family. Peace can be achieved with an attitude of nonviolence. An eye for an eye shall only lead to blindness. So violence is certainly not the solution to conflict at any level, whether it be individual, national, or global. Today marks the birth of a great personality whose name is synonymous with nonviolence, Mohandas Karamchand Gandhiji. Mahatma Gandhiji, who was an ambassador and epitome of nonviolence and love for his brethren, always preached peaceful coexistence. Mahatma Gandhiji's favorite bhajan, Vaishnav Janto ene kahiye je peed parani jane re, meaning people of God are those who feel the pain of others. Gandhiji thus preached sensitivity and empathy for our fellow brethren. Today's webinar shall highlight such preaching and stress on the importance of non-violence for peaceful coexistence. Carlos Santana rightly said, I quote, "The most valuable possession you can own is an open heart. The most powerful weapon you can be is an instrument of peace," unquote. So let us now embark upon this journey of discovering how we all can become channels of peace and non-violence. Thank you.
Thank you very much, ma'am. Now I would like to invite Mr. Zamir Salim Syed, coordinator of the webinar, Assistant Professor, Department of English and Postgraduate Center, to introduce the resource person. Over to you, sir.
Thank you, Asif sir. Good afternoon, everyone. I'm Zamir, and I wish you all a very happy non-violence day. May our path be of compassion and kindness. Through disciplined determination, through adherence to our conscience, in all our actions, may we build up a world that is pure, uncorrupted, unpolluted, and unmanipulated. May we live together as a kind community, as a good generation that will set precedents for the generations to come. Here I am to introduce you to a resource person, Dr. Tehseen Raza. He is an assistant professor in the Department of Strategic and Security Studies, Aligarh Muslim University. He studied in more than 10 foreign universities. Besides Aligarh, his study revolves around issues of identity, religiosity, marginalization, gender, migration, localization, and indigenous conflict resolution. So to create, instill and popularize the narrative of peace and the idea that another world more peaceful, human, and secure is possible. He reads political science and writes peace. It's rare. On behalf of Pune College of Arts, Science and Commerce and the Department of English and Postgraduate Center, I welcome you, Dr. Tehseen sir, as the resource person of the International Multidisciplinary Webinar on International Day of Nonviolence. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Now I'd like to invite Dr. Tehseen Raza, Associate Professor, Department of Strategic and Security Studies, University of Aligarh, to address the participant. Over to you, sir. Dr. Tehseen Raza.
Sir, kindly unmute yourself.
Okay, I think now I am audible.
Yeah, yes, sir, you are audible. Yeah.
Is it okay? Okay, thank you, Dr. Asif, and I'm very much thankful to the organizers from your college, Pune University, and particularly Professor Anwar Sheikh Saab, Professor M. Khan, and the head of the department of your English department, Madam Zeenat Merchant, Zamir A. Syed, Ashwini, and Dr. Asif Khan, of course. And of course, I'm thankful to all the participants who have come. And the importance of this day actually lie in the fact that this is the day here when one of the person who played an instrumental role in galvanizing the people to achieve independence in our country, and he is not just recognized by the world, but his birthday is actually celebrated as the International Day of Non-Violence. And none other than an international organizations like United Nations has actually formalized his day as the day of International Day of Non-Violence. So what I'll do in this brief 30-35 minutes is to first try to understand that why at all at this point of time, when all over the world there is this preponderance of power in all sense, and there is this rise of populism, there is this rise of power politics everywhere, and people capturing power, and even the semblance of democracy, even the semblance of people's movement, people rights is not taken care of. We can see from countries like United Nations to Latin American countries, and closer home in India too, because at a time when the farmers of our country are there in protest for more than many a months, and no significant way out is around the corner. And this is happening in a country which actually is the birthplace of Mahatma Gandhi. So is it that we are right in holding today's important day of having? Yeah, am I audible? It's okay. Hello, Asif, is it okay? Am I?
Sir, it's okay.
Yes, sir, it's
You are audible
audible,
to
sir.
I
everyone.
thought that you were saying something. Okay, you were saying something. Okay.
No,
So
no.
what I gonna do within this 25-30 minutes is this is the hiccups in in any online meeting. So we all have to bear with this. So what I'm gonna do in 35-40 minutes is to first to understand what actually is the significance of this day, that is the International Day of Non-Violence. And why actually do we celebrate it? Is there a need to celebrate it? Or if there is a need to celebrate it, why we Indians need to have a special reckoning of this day? And related to this is the idea as to why the person in whose memory this day is celebrated, he becomes important. So in other sense, why is it that the idea of the person whose birthday is celebrated as the International Day of Non-Violence becomes important in the world of today? The world which has become increasingly violent, the world which has become increasingly where the rights of the people are increasingly not being taken care of, even in the most in the oldest and the biggest democracies of the world. So in such a situation, in such an environment, who is associated with this International Day of Non-Violence is important. And next, what I'll do is I'll and actually quite related to the first two part, we'll briefly acquaint ourselves with this concept of non-violence. Because when some concept becomes important, or when some concepts gain currency, what happens that a lot of problematics gets associated with it, and the original idea somehow gets blurred. So what is this concept of non-violence, and how the original idea of non-violence as espoused by Mahatma Gandhi, the father of a nation, how that idea of non-violence is relevant or could be made relevant if it for some reasons has not been taken care of by the people. So how could it become relevant, and what is the importance of that? And in that also, I'll try to briefly acquaint ourselves with some of the actual works which have been done around the concept of violence, that whether violence is increasing in the world or violence is decreasing in the world, or why is it that there are people who say that in actually violence is decreasing, and what is the reason for that and why they are wrong. There are some reports by, there is this report by this organization called Vision of Humanity, and it has come out with a very good report on from world wars to internal conflicts, 100-year trends. So I'll discuss that. And then finally, of course, the reason of violence and how those violence could be checked, how those violence can, if those violence cannot be ended entirely, or there cannot be, we cannot put the existence of violence entirely, how could we play a part in at least lessening the impact of violence or diminishing the impact of violence? So what our role could be. And in that, I'll come with the idea of peace education, why peace education is important. So this will be the brief framework in which my talk will move on. And what I want to do now to begin is to just have a cursory look and the manner in which Mahatma Gandhi is spoken of in exalted terms the world over. I cannot resist myself from quoting Albert Einstein, who was the biggest,
sorry to interrupt you. Seems to be some problem at your side.
One of the greatest, I should say, scientists of the world. And a person like him said that generations to come will scarcely believe that such a man as this. Yeah. The voice is not coming, but voice is clear or not? Am I audible?
Sir, sorry to interrupt you. There is some problem with the bandwidth. It's very
Hello?
low.
Asif, am I audible? Yeah.
So you are audible. It's breaking,
Okay.
sir. Your voice is breaking.
So should I put my video to off mode?
You can do that, sir, if it works, because there
Maybe
seems to be
it
some
works.
problems.
Okay. Okay, but tell me if it's not working, just call me if it's not working. Because
Okay,
maybe
okay.
there is some problem with it today here in the Aligarh, I think.
Yeah.
Okay, I'm stopping my video and then continuing with this. Okay, if it works. Now, am I audible, Asif?
Yes, sir. It's okay now.
Okay. So what I was just emphasizing is the fact that this person, Mahatma Gandhi, in exalted terms the world over, but his ideas, is it okay?
Actually, sorry, sir, it's breaking. And
Is it okay, Asif?
sir, sorry, sir, it's breaking, and we can see the message here that your network bandwidth is very low. Inconvenience regretted due to some technical glitch.
Okay, so Asif, can it be that can you ask the other speaker to come, and in the meantime I'll try to to make it better if it is possible. I don't know, there is some problem in the city today. So could it work like this, or?
Sir, it's okay. Now you are audible.
Really very sorry for this glitch from my. Should I continue now?
Yes, sir, you can continue.
Okay. So the thing which I was flagging in very quickly is that this person in whose name today's day is celebrated, that is Mahatma Gandhi, he is spoken of in very exalted terms by none greater person than one of the greatest scientists of the world. He has told about him that generations to come will scarcely believe that such a man as this has ever lived on earth in flesh and blood. And perhaps he was right. He could see the makeup of the future generation, and he could very well sense that in the coming generation, the ideas which Gandhi stood for, or the philosophy which Gandhi espoused, maybe that could be that will go further so down that people will scarcely believe that a person with those ideas actually existed, and his ideas were actually utilized, and they played a very important role in the freedom struggle of a country against one of the most powerful empire of that time. But what we need to do now is to see Mahatma Gandhi in the everydayness of the life. We should try to bring the ideas of Mahatma Gandhi not in those exalted terms, but we need to see that how and why Mahatma Gandhi is like any other person. Mahatma Gandhi is not actually a person who needs just to be understood or explained in terms of his ideas and philosophy. Rather, he's a person, an ordinary person, whose ideas are very much relevant to the people who are living, and whose ideas are actually the ideas which can bring solace in the world of today, the world which is marred with violence, the world which is marred with populism, the world which is marred with all sorts of problems. So here is the person whose ideas are of such importance that they can and they should be practiced, they should be utilized, and they should be used. So with this initial remark, what I will now do is to actually summarize the idea of non-violence by some of the important ideas which Mahatma Gandhi stood for. And among his ideas which are of much relevance today is the idea of trusteeship, is the idea, of course, of non-violence, and the idea of interfaith harmony. So these are the three important things which I'd like to flag in quickly, and how actually Mahatma Gandhi played his part in doing away with the negativities of his time by utilizing this concept of non-violence, by utilizing the concept of peace, by utilizing the concept of working on the constructive potential of human being, utilizing the emancipatory potential of human being, utilizing the emancipatory potential of the general public, how he utilized those ideas to chase away one of the most powerful empire of his time, and how those ideas are actually very much relevant in the world of today, when we see the rise of corporatism, when we see the rise of neoliberalism in all its negative form. So when people think that at an age when even democracy is hijacked, when even the power of media is hijacked, when the people who out to say the grievances of the people, they have actually been hijacked by the power of money. So how in such a situation, when there seems to be no way out, when there seems to be no possibility of a recourse, how in this era, in this time, in this situation, the ideas of Mahatma Gandhi could be utilized? And so here was a person who didn't just wrote a philosophical treatise. Here is a person who has actually shown us the way. He has actually done the things. And the most important thing which could be associated with any great person is the time in which that person has actually come out with his ideas and utilized his ideas for the redress of humanity. And on these terms, if we try to examine Gandhian success, then of course he was a great man. So why is it that maybe there are people who might say, and more so because I'm a teacher and I teach students of graduation particularly. Sometimes they ask me questions which are actually, we may say that they're abrupt questions they ask. That here is a man we hold in such an exalted esteem, and here is the man who could not prevent the partition of the country. Here is the man who initiated the greatest mass struggle of the country, that is the civil disobedience movement and the non-cooperation movement. And both this non-cooperation movement and the civil disobedience movement, both of the movement didn't culminate in the end result which he wanted. Both, even non-cooperation movement and the civil disobedience movements were abruptly, they abruptly came to an end. And the civil disobedience movement came to an end because of the Chauri Chaura incident. And in that incident, people actually resorted to violence. So how is it that a person, even in his lifetime, he couldn't successfully culminate the ideas to a logical conclusion, in the sense that he was not able to prevent the partition of the country, which he strongly wanted. He was a person who abruptly stopped both the non-cooperation movement and the civil disobedience movement. So how is it that the idea of that person could be of use now? And here is what comes the brilliance of Mahatma Gandhi, which we need to understand. And here is where the idea of peace education comes, assumes its importance. And I'll just see how this is important. So what actually Gandhi ji did was the fact that he extricated the mind of the people from the slavery in which they were in. So in terms of Gramsci and in terms of a strategy, what he did was he not just tried to win a war, rather he tried to transform the very idea, he tried to transform the very structure in which this concept of winning and losing is played. So what actually Mahatma Gandhi did was he brought to the mind of the people that it is you, it is the people, it is the everyone, it is the ordinary citizen, it is the common citizen who have the power to rule themselves. And that is the concept of Swaraj. So he exalted the position of the people, he exalted the position of the common man and raised the position of the common man, so that in himself or herself, he or she could think of ruling the entire country, or ruling the space, or following or not following the law of the land of that time, if it was just or not just. So what actually Mahatma Gandhi did, and the importance of Mahatma Gandhi lies in the fact that hitherto, before him, there was no one in the world who could even think of defeating the mightiest of the army of that time, the mightiest of the empire of the time, or you can say the America of today. And here is a man who is giving to the, what you can say, ordinary people, people without arm, people without any resources, the power to even think of defeating them. And when once you instill the mind of the people and you exalt the mind of the people to think that they cannot be ruled by others, this is actually the beginning of the end of the rule. So in terms of Gramsci, what he did was he actually carried out a war of position. So there is this war of position and this war of maneuver. So what Gandhi ji did was he extricated the mind of the people from the hegemony of the empire of that time, and he did not just extricate the people from the hegemony of the empire, rather he tried to utilize the creative potential of human being, the creative potential of general people, general public, ordinary citizen, for constructive program, for the construction of the society in a positive manner. So here is a person who is utilizing the creative potential of general human being, ordinary citizen, and he is utilizing that not just to fight the excesses of the empire of that time. Rather, what he was doing is he was actually trying to exalt the position of the people to do constructive program and to do away with the problem of the society. So he was fighting on two fronts. He was fighting actually on the front of the mind. And if we all know, and scholars and sages and seers have always said that the problem lies with the slavery of the mind. If our mind is put in chains, that is the biggest slavery. So what Mahatma Gandhi did was he actually unchained the mind of the people. He chained the mind of the citizenry. And in doing so, he unleashed the creative potential of the people. So even during the time of the freedom struggle, when people say that he couldn't formally and successfully led to the logical conclusion of the movements which he has started, that is the civil disobedience movement or the non-cooperation movement, or even for that matter, the Quit India movement. Even the Quit India movement was not in that timely sense, in the context of that time, was fully successful, because in 1942 it was initiated and we got our freedom in 1947. So in that sense, it may be considered that it was not very much successful, but the success of that lies in the fact that he was creating a citizenry, he was creating an idea, he was creating a people, he was creating trying to create a political setup in which there would be future peace, there would be future prosperity, and there would be future equity of all. So the idea of Mahatma Gandhi was not to replace one sort of domination by another sort of domination, which we see later on. The idea of Mahatma Gandhi was actually to work upon the creative potential of the people, the creative potential of the ordinary citizen. So the future which comes, in that future, there will be equity, there will be inclusivity, and there will be the well-being of all, and not just those people who belong to the upper or the elite strata of the society. So Mahatma Gandhi's ideas actually becomes very much relevant in the times of today, because when at the face of it, it seems that there is no hope. When at the face of it, there seems that whatever we are doing, that actually is going to culminate in defeat, that actually is going to end not in success of any sort. But here comes the idea of the person who says that success should not be measured in terms of the current and now. Success should actually be measured in terms of the future potential which it has. And therefore, all the ideas which Mahatma Gandhi stood for in the world of today, in the 21st century, when the neoliberal ethics have actually swayed all the institutions of the world, even now in 2007, the world again arises from the slumber and decides that here is the person whose ideas needs to be reckoned with. Here is the person, we need the idea. And therefore, in 2007, his birthday was celebrated as the day of International Day of Nonviolence. And just for the sake of emphasizing the importance of the date and how United Nations actually emphasized, let me just emphasize the word which the secretary, the then secretary, said, that the United Nations accepted resolve to observe this day as the International Day of Peace in order to disseminate the message of non-violence, including through education and public awareness. And it is here that the concept of peace education comes. And the resolution which affirmed 2nd October as the date of International Day of Non-Violence, that resolution also reaffirmed, and the quote, the universal relevance of the principle of non-violence and the desire to secure a culture of peace, tolerance, understanding, and non-violence. So this is how the United Nations reaffirmed the idea of Mahatma Gandhi. Two other important things which in the missing I couldn't flag in, which I'd like to emphasize, and that is there is a difference between the concept of non-violence as espoused by Gandhi and the idea of pacifism or idea of submissiveness. So the non-violence which Gandhi preaches is not pacifism. It is not looking away from your responsibilities. It is not avoiding being a part of a movement in which you think that you are not going to be successful. But actually, the idea of non-violence which Mahatma Gandhi espoused, that actually is an idea which asks you to be very much a concerned citizen, a part of the concerned citizenry, and play your part, and rather keep playing your part to the extent possible. So non-violence is never to mean that one should go in for submissiveness, or one should, out of cowardice, out of fear, out of being defeated, one should resort to not playing your part, which ideally you should. Rather, non-violence is something which is to constructively keep utilizing your potential for the betterment of the humanity. And therefore, I'd like to quote two things. One very important quote of Mahatma Gandhi pertaining to violence, where he says that non-violence is not cowardice. Non-violence is actually something which only the brave can afford. So non-violence is not something which is meant for the powerless people or the people who are actually not in a position to wage war. Rather, the non-violence which he is preaching is such an idea, such a concept which only the brave can afford to pursue. And his quote needs to be understood, which I'm quoting from his journal, that is Young India, on 28th May 1944. And sorry, 1924. Under quote, Mahatma Gandhi says, "My non-violence does not admit of running away from danger and leaving dear ones unprotected. Between violence and cowardly fight, I can only prefer violence to cowardice." See, this is the word which Mahatma Gandhi himself is saying. This is his original quote. He is saying, my non-violence does not admit of running away from danger and leaving dear ones unprotected. Between violence and cowardly fight, I can only prefer violence to cowardice. I can no more preach non-violence to a coward than I can tempt a blind man to injure healthy seeing. So this is the word of Mahatma Gandhi pertaining to the concept of non-violence. So what actually non-violence is? Non-violence is the utilization of the potential which you have in order to do good things in life. And this also becomes amply clear by the letter which he wrote to the Satyagrahis. Satyagrahis were actually the person who willingly agreed to follow the principle of non-violence in the struggle. So during one of the freedom struggles movement, that is the movement of civil disobedience, he wrote an elaborate letter to each Satyagrahi. And in that letter, I will just read some of the points of that letter, which will highlight the fact that how that non-violence could be pursued, and what is the difference between non-violence and pacifism. So he, in his letter, which I'm quoting from, again, Young India from 27th February 1930, he says, Mahatma Gandhi says, a Satyagrahi, that is a civil resistor, will harbor no anger. He or she will suffer the anger of the opponent. In so doing, he or she will put up with assaults from the opponent, never retaliate, but he will not submit. So submission is not there. He will not submit out of fear of punishment or the likes to any order given in anger. Then he says, Mahatma Gandhi says to the Satyagrahi, when any person in authority seeks to arrest a civil register, he will voluntarily submit to the arrest and he will not resist the attachment or removal of his own property, if any, when it is sought to be confiscated by the authorities. If a civil register has any property in his possession, as a trustee, he will refuse to surrender it, even though in defending it, he might lose his life. He will, however, never retaliate. So here is Mahatma Gandhi, who is asking the Satyagrahis that if during a protest, during a satyagraha, if a civil register come across a situation in which any property's possession is to be taken, as a trustee, if he is the trustee of that property, so he will not. His own property he can, but the property to which he is the trustee, he cannot, he should not surrender, even to the extent that he himself will have to suffer physical harm. Then non-retaliation exclude swearing and cursing. So here is the person who says that if non-retaliation has to avoid even swearing and cursing. So if someone, the idea is to bring change in the heart and mind of your aggressor. So even cursing and swearing is not allowed to Satyagrahi. And therefore, a civil register will never insult his opponent, and therefore also cannot take part in many of the newly coined cries which are contrary to the spirit of ahimsa. A civil register will not salute the Union Jack, nor will he insult it or officials, English or Indian. In the course of the struggle, if anyone insults an official or commits an assault upon him, a civil register will protect such official or officer from the insult or attack, even at the risk of his own life. So the idea of non-violence of Mahatma Gandhi is actually that idea which the later scholars like John Galtung has emphasized in terms of the creative power of peace. So power actually works in many ways. There is one aspect in which force is used for power, and there are also other views, the constructive element of power, whereby the willpower of the people is utilized to give the signal to the aggressor that after a point of time, your aggression, after a point of time, your enormous power is not going to achieve anything, and therefore you must accept what the resistor is actually trying to do. There is a limit to the use of force and power, and who else can understand this? We are living in 21st century. Just now we have seen that one of the most powerful, I will say, empire of the world, that is United States of America of today. United States of America, there are a lot of geopolitical and other reasons, but the fact of the matter is this, that United States of America has to leave Afghanistan. And Afghanistan, where United States of America went in the aftermath of 2001 with the preponderance of power. As of now, the military might of America is such that the combined military might of all the armies of the world is will end up being minuscule. The American military might is many times stronger than the combined military might of all the people, all the armies of the world. Even that preponderant power has to leave the country called Afghanistan. So there is a limit to power. And Mahatma Gandhi actually is emphasizing on that idea that power actually has a limit, and what is unlimited is the idea of non-violence. It is the idea of ahimsa, is the idea of peace. So what we need to do is we need to stand scrutiny to the continuance of our struggle and not fight away or go away in the midst of the struggle. And this is what the entire life of Mahatma Gandhi actually shows us. Here is a man in 1947. He is the Bapu, he is the father of the nation, he is the tallest personality of the Indian freedom struggle. And this man, at the dawn, when India has got independence, when the entire India, in the words of Jawaharlal Nehru, is having a tryst with destiny, and in his words, when the entire world sleep, India is keeping awake to life and freedom. Here is this man who is living in the slums of Calcutta and trying to put balm to those who lost their life. Here is the man who is shunning the swearing-in ceremony of the country whose independence he single-handedly brought about, if I may say this. And that person is actually sitting in the various places of Calcutta to salvage the hurt feeling of the general citizenry. Here is the man, when the country has been vivisected and divided on the basis of religion, and another country has been created, and there is some sort of problem in the distribution of the resources. Here is this person. What he's doing? He's actually asking his government to be honest in dividing the resources of the land. So here is this person who actually is shunning the everydayness of the violence and trying to convert the everydayness of violence with the concept of the everydayness of the peace. So this man needs to not just be held in exalted position, rather this man needs to be practically, his ideas needs to be practically implemented. And the main thing which Gandhi stood for is the idea of hope, is the idea of the feeling that another world is possible, betterment is possible, positivity is possible. And that is what is important in the world of today. Because when we have a look at the way the world politics has got a turn, we are in a cycle of violence, we are in a cycle of trauma, we are even in our country in such a situation in which when you open newspaper, when you hear any sort of news, the first feeling which comes to one's mind is that all is over and we cannot do anything, because even after 75 years of independence, we are not able to just do the things in equitable manner. We are not able to fulfill the ideas of the constitution in terms of inclusivity, in terms of, we are actually going back. But here is the idea of Gandhi, which asks us not to feel defeated, not to lose hope. And in terms of Gramsci, there is this idea of we need to fight things, we need to struggle, keeping in mind the optimism of the will and the pessimism of the intellect. So the pessimism of the intellect informs us that the world of today is beyond repair. But that needs to be combined with the optimism of the will, and the optimism of the will asks us that here was a man, Mahatma Gandhi, who was also working under such situation or even situation worse than today. And he did his part, he played his part in not just extricating the people from the problems of the empire of that time, rather through his idea of constructive program and peace, he tried to bring changes in the minds of the people. So Gandhi gives up hope. If there is one thing which this International Day of Non-Violence we should remember, that is the idea of hope. And it is hope which will bail us through the current problems which we are in. What actually we need to emphasize today on the day of when we are commemorating the Gandhi Jayanti, or the International Day of Non-Violence. See, there is a possibility of peace, and that how could that possibility of peace could be practicalized, or could be made practical? Here comes the idea of education, and here comes the idea of peace education. Everything is possible. See, I always say this to my younger students, that if someone, if time machines develop, and one can have this capacity of going back in time during the time of the medieval era. So if we go into the time of the medieval era and we say to the students of that time that there might come a time in future where there could be peaceful transition of power. Power could be transferred peacefully. So maybe people of that time of the medieval era would not believe and would think this to be an insanity. But this actually is happening in the world of today. Of course, there are a problem, but there are, this is the fact that peaceful transition of power in many countries of the world is taking place. So the insanity of that time is a reality now. So if now we try to uphold the idea of the creative potential of human being by concentrating or emphasizing upon the idea of peace by Mahatma Gandhi, we may have a future like this. And we will have a future like this only if we emphasize this through the idea of peace education. So the need of today is the need of today is to help create a narrative of peace. There is the need for the creation of a narrative which says that, of course, there are problems, but there is this possibility of peace. And there is always this idea that people come together, and the essential humanity of mankind has not come to an end. I am not, I'm forgetting the name of that person, but there was this person who in sometimes 4-5 years back went into talk with the war-ravaged countries of the world. He traveled many thousand kilometers of the world, from war-ravaged Afghanistan to the places in Northeast India, to Pakistan, to West Asian countries, to Latin American countries. And that journalist, I'm forgetting the name, he finally said that whenever he met people, ultimately, it was the idea of humanity in the people which prevailed. Even during the gruesome attack, even during the time when the opponent has actually killed many people of that particular person. But finally, the idea of humanity remains. And we have seen this, the idea of humanity, how the idea of humanity is still persists when now we see mob lynching and all sorts of problems. It's still, what we need to do is, we need to connect the dot. We need actually to emphasize upon this narrative that yes, power is there, violence is there, but there is also this idea of peace, there is idea of humanity. And there are people who finally agree to this concept of essential humanity of mankind. So there is this essential humanity of mankind. And what we need to do is, we need to do this through peace education. And the peace education, which we all should try to actually work upon, will actually help in capturing the mind of the young people. See what happens. Why we keep emphasizing the idea of peace education. Because everything, even war, begins in the mind of people. War, an important strategist has said that war begins in the mind of men. Violence begins in the mind of men. Of course, he was telling it at that time. So it is not that just that it is beginning in the mind of men. I'll be termed as a patriarchal person. So actually things begin in the mind of people. So if we are able to capture the mind of young people and somehow try to instill in them the idea that a narrative of peace is possible, creative potential of human being is there, and that need to be tapped, that need to be supported. And it is here that we, the teaching community, needs to play a very important role. So there are 2-3 more things which I wanted to flag in very quickly, but I think I'll end it here. And there is this, I hope I've got some more times. I can flag in 2-3 important things, or I should stop it here? Syed Saab, Asif Saab?
Yes, sir, you can take time. A few
How much
minutes.
time I've got now?
You can take, sir,
A few
few
minutes. Okay,
minutes.
thank you. So, okay, so thank you. Another very important thing which we need to understand is that now, see, in 2007, United Nations has arose to accept this International Day of Nonviolence. And by the way, do you know who actually started this idea of having Mahatma Gandhi's Day as the day of International Day of Nonviolence? It was actually by an Iranian diplomat. I think Shirin Ebadi was the person who espoused this idea of having Mahatma Gandhi's Day as the International Day of Nonviolence. So the world is actually rising up to the idea of Mahatma Gandhi. Perhaps we in our country have forgotten Mahatma Gandhi, but there are various places in the world where there are various centers of Mahatma Gandhi at International Center for Study of Non-Violence, and these things are emerging. So the need of today is to forge in a sort of a collaboration with all those people who are working with this idea, and emphasize upon the people that there is limit to violence, and the limit to violence is seen by all. And because there is a limit to violence, the future can only be sustained if we awake to the idea of having a proper sort of balance between the world of today and the world of future. And it is here again that the idea of Mahatma Gandhi becomes very important. Mahatma Gandhi is not a person of the past. Mahatma Gandhi is not a person of the current time too. I will say Mahatma Gandhi is actually a person of the future. At a time when we are confronted with global problems, this problem of global commons, whereby there are things which is termed in terms of zero-sum game, and there are things which actually is there, which is going to affect everyone. Climate change is actually going to affect everyone. Even the powerful country of the world, which thinks that it is landlocked and it doesn't have any opening to water, even that country is going to be affected by climate change. So there is a need to go back to the ideas of Mahatma Gandhi. And what Mahatma Gandhi says, the world has enough for everyone's need, but it doesn't have enough for even one man's greed. And it is here that the idea of Mahatma Gandhi needs to be tabbed, needs to be implemented, needs to be popularized, because if we do not do this, then we will be on the verge of collapse, and we actually will leave a world which will be anything but a human world, that will become an animal world. Another important thing which very quickly I'll flag is the concept of interfaith dialogue, which Mahatma Gandhi did. Because our country and all over the world, religiosity has actually taken a different turn, and there's this rise of extremism in all forms. Therefore, it's very important for us to revisit the idea of Mahatma Gandhi of going in for interfaith dialogue, going in for the concept of taking care of the needs of everyone, and not just the need of everyone, but taking care of the needs of the ecology, taking care of the needs of the future generation, taking care of the needs of the future world, because that is the only solace, that is the only way the world could survive. We are on the cusp of some sort of a great doom, and that doom could be avoided if we try to go back to the ideas of Mahatma Gandhi, which in essence ask for a harmonious blend between the country of today, the world of today, and the world of tomorrow, between the generation of today and the generation of today, between between those who actually have the power over resources and those who actually need those resources. So there should be harmonious blend between these two. And that blend could very well be achieved by following the idea of Mahatma Gandhi. I think I have taken enough time, and I'd like to finally conclude this with this couplet by perhaps who is the poet? I again forget who is the poet, but he wrote it for a different person, but I am quoting it for Mahatma Gandhi, keeping in context the thing which I have just said. वो जो हमराज रहा हाजिर मुस्तकबिल का, उसके ख्वाबों की खुशी रूह का गम लेके चलो, सारे कौमों के गुनाहों का कड़ा बोझ लिए, उम्र भर सूरत ईसा जो सरेदार रहा, जिसने इंसानों की तकसीम के सदमे झेले, फिर भी इंसान की उखुवत का परस्तार रहा, और वो जो हमराज रहा हाजिर व मुस्तकबिल का, उसके ख्वाबों की खुशी रूह का गम लेके चलो. So my request to all of us who are present here, most of the teachers are here and the students are here, and that is uske khwabon ki khushi ruh ka gham leke chalo. Because finally what happened to Mahatma Gandhi, he actually led his life for the country, not for the country, I'll say, he actually led his life for the whole of humanity. So uske khwabon ki khushi ruh ka gham leke chalo. Thank you. And I'm sorry for the glitches which came as a result of the internet problem. Thank you.
Sir, thank you very much for your enlightening and stimulating talk. Thank you very much, sir. Now, unfortunately, due to some unforeseen circumstance, our next second resource person, that is Professor Ihsan Mutar from Iraq, he won't be joining because his son got his leg fractured, and he has sent an X-ray report also on my WhatsApp as a proof. So we pray for his fast recovery. And now the session is open for discussion. If you have any question, you can ask to Dr. Tehseen Raza. After this session, you will get after that, you will get feedback link for each certificate. So if you have any question, you can ask Dr. Tehseen Raza. Now session is open for discussion. You can raise your hand. If you got any questions, you can ask now. It's open for discussion now. Yeah, Stephen Dar. Yes, Stevens.
Yes, sir. I am greatly blessed by the session of today, and I want to congratulate the team and sir for this session. My question is that it was the dream of Mahatma Gandhi, the father of our nation, of cleanliness, that is after godliness. So looking at the current situation, sir, I would like to ask that how far have we as a nation been able to fulfill this dream of Swachh Bharat as cleanliness?
Thank you, Asif. Should I, will you take 2-3 questions and then I have to respond, or should I directly?
You can respond, sir. You can respond now. Okay.
Okay. Thank you, Mr. Stephen Da. Kind of you to be in the session and listen. And yes, a very pertinent point you have raised, that how far we have been successful, because it was one of the important element of Gandhian idea of constructive program to go in for cleanliness, to have cleanliness. And I will add to that that it was not just cleanliness in terms of savachta of the appearance. It was actually the cleanliness of the mind, cleanliness of the way we think. And of course, when we look in this holistic term and in terms of what Mahatma Gandhi actually has fought for, or even led his life for, I'm sorry to say that that we have been a failure. We have been a great failure in not standing up to the real ideas of Mahatma Gandhi. See, what actually Gandhi stood for. One thing which Gandhi stood for is not to do things for the sake of doing things. Gandhi was the person who believed in substance. Gandhi was the person who believed in actually doing things with the purpose of, with the intention of, with the idea of bringing change actually, and not just showing off of things. If he had to show off of things, taking this in a different manner, if he had to show off of things, then he would never have ended the civil disobedience movement after the Chauri Chaura incident. Because he was very much interested, and his entire energy and life and the being was imbued in the idea of actually pursuing the things to the end and actually following the goals that he had the moral courage to abruptly end this civil disobedience movement, even at the cost of accruing the wrath of even his close aides. So you are right. You are perfectly right that in terms of following the ideas of Mahatma Gandhi, in terms particularly of the Swachh Bharat Abhiyan, in real terms, we have not been able to fulfill the ideas of Mahatma Gandhi. Mere holding broom and sweep on the day of Swachh Bharat by the different, let me be honest to say, and it happens in every university, even in mine, even my department. And one day what people do is to hold a broom and then show, there is very good photo op, and people actually click things and then the selfie is done and then that is distributed. And then what happens afterwards? The sweepers, the cleaners, those of our brethren who belong to the community of sweeping and cleaning, they actually have to bear the brunt of that problem too. So yes, you are right. But what we need to do, see what Gandhi ji has actually told us. Hum kya kar sakte hain? We are not in the executives. We are not actually the district magistrate or the prime minister or the council of ministers. So what we can do as a teacher, as a student, what we can do, we can actually popularize this idea. We ourselves should be the example. When others are doing the things, what we should do, and that is what is the purpose of attending this lecture, is actually to become the change yourself. This is what Gandhi said us. Gandhi said us, don't preach your ideas, rather become yourself an example of that idea. Practicalize in yourself the things which you want others to do. So what actually Gandhi did all his life, he himself was following whatever he was preaching. He was living in ashram, he was wearing khadi, and the greatest testimony to this is the fact that he laid down his life for the religious amity. And he laid down his life at a time when he could have been anything. He could have been anything because he was a person and he was held in high esteem by Prime Minister, by the Council of Ministers. You can understand this by the response, by the statement which various leaders, not just from India, from all over the world, made after his demise. So here was this man who had the entire paraphernalia of security with him, but he was amidst the people alone. So Gandhiji practicalized the thing. And so what we can do, you are right. I do agree with you that we have not been very successful in really following and pursuing this Swachh Bharat idea of Mahatma Gandhi. But what we need to do is we need to ourselves become example of actually doing things. I hope it answers, Stephen. Asif, I am audible?
Yes, sir. You're
Okay,
audible.
okay, sir.
Yeah, thank you, sir. Stevens. Yeah, any other question? We can take one more question if you have, just you can ask. Okay, thank you very much for your participation. And thank you very much, sir, for again your stimulating and enlightening speech. It was really wonderful. And thank you very much. Now I request Dr. Ashwini Prude, Assistant Professor, Department of English and Postgraduate Center, to propose the vote of thanks. After this, you will receive a feedback link. After the successful submission of this link, you will get your e-certificate or your email ID. So Dr. Ashwini Prude, over to you, ma'am.
Thank you, sir. Good afternoon, everyone. On behalf of our management and college, I'm here to extend a hearty vote of thanks to Dr. Saeed Tehseen Raza for gracing us with his insights on Mahatma Gandhi. He has reaffirmed to us to believe that Gandhian ideologies are not outdated, but very much relevant and indispensable in present times. So thank you for recreating the charishma of Mahatma Gandhi. I thank our respected principal, Professor Dr. Aftab Anwar Sheikh, and Vice Principal, Professor Moinuddin Khan, for being a catalyst that stimulated us to do our best and standing as pillars of strength. I would also like to thank our technical team who worked behind the scene to make this event happen. Thank you, Dr. Imran Mirza and Mr. Asif Khan. Finally, I would like to thank our patient and august audience for their wholehearted participation. Last but not least, a big thank you to each one of you who made this webinar successful. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you very much, ma'am. Now a link is shared in the chat box. You can fill this up and get your e-certificate on your email ID, which you have provided, which you will provide in this feedback form. So thank you very much for your participation. So meeting will remain open for 2 minutes. After that, we will end it till you submit your feedback form. Those who have done it can leave the meeting. Have a nice evening ahead. Thank you.
Thank you. understanding the ideas of Mahatma Gandhi, not in those exalted terms, but we need to see how and why Mahatma Gandhi is like any other person. Mahatma Gandhi is not actually a person who needs just to be understood or explained in terms of his ideas and philosophy. Rather, he's a person, an ordinary person, whose ideas are very much relevant to the people who are living, and whose ideas are actually the ideas which can bring solace in the world of today. The world is marred with violence, the world which is marred with populism, the world which is marred with all sorts of problems. So here is the person whose ideas are of such importance that they can and they should be practiced, they should be utilized, and they should be used. With this initial remark, what I will now do is to actually summarize the idea of non-violence by some of the important ideas which Mahatma Gandhi has put forth. And among his ideas, which are of much relevance today, is the idea of trusteeship. It's the idea, of course, of non-violence, and the idea of interfaith harmony. So these are the three important things which I'd like to flag in quickly, and how actually Mahatma Gandhi played his part in doing away with of his time by utilizing this quickly. And see, here was a person who didn't just wrote philosophical treatises. Here is a person who of Mahatma Gandhi was not to replace one sort of domination by another sort of domination, which we see later on. The idea of Mahatma Gandhi was actually work upon the creative potential of the people which comes. In that future, there will be equity, well-being of all, and not just those people who belong to the upward or the elite strata of the society. So Mahatma Gandhi's ideas actually becomes very much relevant in the times of today, because when at the face of it, it seems that there is no hope. When at the face of it, there seems that whatever we are doing, that actually is going to culminate in defeat, that actually is going to end not in success of any sort. But here comes the idea of the person who says that success should not be measured in terms of the current and now. Success should actually be measured in terms of the future potential which it has. And therefore, all the ideas which Mahatma Gandhi stood for in the world of today, in the 21st century, when the neoliberal ethics have actually swayed all the institutions of the world, even now in 2007, the world again arises from this slumber and decides that here is the person whose ideas needs to be reckoned with. Here is the person, we need the idea, and therefore in 2007, his birthday was celebrated as the day of International Day of Nonviolence. And just for the sake of emphasizing the importance of the date and how United Nations actually emphasize, let me just emphasize the word which the secretary, the then secretary said, that the United Nations accepted resolved to observe this day as the International Day of Peace in order to disseminate the message of non-violence, including through education and public awareness. And it is here that the concept of peace education comes. And the resolution which affirmed 2nd October as the date of International Day of Non-Violence, that resolution also reaffirmed, and the quote, the universal relevance of the principle of non-violence and the desire to secure a culture of peace, tolerance, understanding, and non-violence. The United Nations reaffirmed the idea of Mahatma Gandhi. Two other important things which in the missing I couldn't flag in. which I'd like to emphasize, and that is there is a difference between the concept of non-violence as discussed by Gandhi and the idea of pacifism or idea of submissiveness. So the non-violence which Gandhi preaches is not pacifism. It is not looking away from your responsibility. It is not avoiding being a part of a movement in which you think that you are not going to be successful. But actually, the idea of non-violence which Mahatma Gandhi espoused, that actually is an idea which asks you to be very much a concerned citizen, a part of the concerned citizenry, and play your part, and rather keep playing your part to the extent possible. So non-violence is never to mean that one should go in for submissiveness, or one should, out of cowardice, out of fear, out of being defeated, one should resort to not playing your part, which ideally you should. Rather, non-violence is something which is to constructively keep utilizing your potential for the betterment of the humanity. And therefore, I'd like to quote two things. One very important quote of Mahatma Gandhi pertaining to violence, where he says that non-violence is not cowardice. Non-violence is actually something which only the brave can afford. So non-violence is not something which is meant for the powerless people or the people who are actually not in a position to wage war. Rather, the non-violence which he is preaching is such an idea, such a concept which only the brave can afford to pursue. And his quote needs to be understood, which I'm quoting from his journal, that is Young India, on 28th May 1944. I'm sorry, 1924. Under quote, Mahatma Gandhi says, "My non-violence does not admit of running away from danger and leaving dear ones unprotected. Between violence and cowardly fight, I can only prefer violence to cowardice." See, this is the word which Mahatma Gandhi himself is saying. This is his original quote. He's saying, my non-violence does not admit of running away from danger and leaving dear ones unprotected. Between violence and cowardly fight, I can only prefer violence to cowardice. I can no more preach non-violence to a coward than I can tempt a blind man to injure healthy seeing. So this is the word of Mahatma Gandhi pertaining to the concept of non-violence. So what actually non-violence is? Non-violence is the utilization of the potential which you have in order to do good things in life. And this also becomes amply clear by the letter which he wrote to the Satyagrahis. Satyagrahis were actually the person who willingly agreed to follow the principle of non-violence in their struggle. So during one of the freedom struggles movement, that is the movement of civil disobedience, he wrote an elaborate letter to each Satyagrahi. And in that letter, I will just read some of the points of that letter, which will highlight the fact that how that non-violence could be pursued, and what is the difference between non-violence and pacifism. So he, in his letter, which I'm quoting from again Young India from 27th February 1930, he says, Mahatma Gandhi says, "A Satyagrahi, that is a civil resistance."
So